dignitaries on the dais and dear participants. Let me thank TCOE for giving this opportunity to present SIDBI schemes. SIDBI. I represent SIDBI. So, it's the Apex Financial Institution, and then we have taken a number of initiatives for the development of MSMEs, like the credit guarantee. People were talking of the credit guarantee, the collaterals which is not there in the industries. So we have this credit guarantee scheme which we came up. Then apart from that, we came out with the venture capital funds through ourselves and through the SIDBI Venture. Then we have a rating agency for rating of MSMEs. Okay, we are the last lenders for the NBFCs and the other banks, MFIs. We have three kinds of services, that is traditional products, risk capital, and sustainable finance. I'll go through that. So our thrust areas are risk capital. In fact, we were the first bank in the country to bring in risk capital, that is mezzanine funding, where pure equity in an MSME is difficult because of challenges of valuation, exit, and so many other things. So risk or mezzanine funding was supposed to be very good, and which had both kinds of benefits for both the SMEs and the lender. Then we are focused again on service sector, receivable finance, and sustainable finance. Now, next is I'll just go through this risk capital funding in the country. We have been funding right through the entire cycle of our company. We are working with premier institutions for, at the idea stage, the semi-commercial stage. In fact, at the micro ventures also. In fact, when we talk of innovation, there are a number of innovations across the country. In fact, we are working with IIM Ahmedabad, and we have an MIF fund there, micro venture fund. We get thousands of ideas, which are small, and they require amounts something like 2 lakh, 3 lakhs, 5 lakh, 10 lakhs. But some companies have grown to 50 crores of business also over a period of time. So that is one. Then we have fund of funds operations. We have about 20 funds which we talk about. We have our dedicated SIDBI Venture Fund, Venture Capital Fund. Then we also operate funds of government. We are talking to a number of government departments, like the MSME department, the DIT, the BE. We are talking to them for operating their funds. Next. So SIDBI, as I said, three major things: the fund of fund operations. We have supported 79 funds, 11 regional and 68 national funds, which do on lending, which do equity funding to MSME. See, whenever we subscribe to a fund, we ensure that 50% of the fund, at least double that, goes to the MSME sector. Then we have equity investments in SVCL. This is one of the first venture capital company for the MSME sector, started in 2000. And we have an asset under management of 1,600 crores now. Then we have direct funding through risk capital, startup scheme. We came up with the startup scheme almost 6-7 years back when everybody was still talking about the startups in India. And we have simple risk capital mezzanine products in the country. Now, as far as the risk capital products, let's go through in detail. It's early stage service enterprises. We have this. We have a structured debt product. We talk of one third of the net worth we give as risk capital, which is easy to understand by the MSMEs and easy to dispense with. The credit delivery mechanism is simpler. Then the customer acceptance is there. In most of the MSMEs, what happens where many technology innovations happen, they are afraid to give equity. They say no valuation, and then once you start valuing them, a venture capital has to buy almost entire part of the company. So this makes sense, especially when smaller companies want to graduate and go to a higher space. This kind of risk capital help where the person doesn't sell it, but he knows the worth, he gets the kind of funding that is required, which normal debt funding doesn't happen. So here under this early stages startup companies, we give up to 1 crore, which we give in optionally convertible debt, or we have some kind of equity. Normally it's up to 7 years. And then, this is again a major thing. Whenever MSME gives funding, get funding from the bank, it's about 4-5 years. Here we give a longer term, 7. Even we can go up to 10 years. Then it's, of course, milestone-based disbursements. Then the second thing is, in the country is many companies innovate. For innovation, they require R&D support. They have to import technology. An existing company can't really find this kind of sources. He has to depend on his own promoter's capital or working capital. Promoter's capital is always scarce. And when he goes to a bank, banks ask for collateral. Banks are not able to understand this kind of technology. So we have this growth capital. This is both for manufacturing and service sector. Then the main thing here, as I said, is intangible funding is there. In most of the debt funding which banks do, even SIDBI does as a normal part of this, intangible funding is to the minimum. We ask collaterals, or or it could be at best cash flow based funding. But intangibles, a number of MSMEs require, for which this funding is risk capital is very useful. This again 7 years, and expected IR is around 16% because the risks are higher. So basically, next we come to this fund of fund operations, which is through which we reach out to. SIDBI basically is a small organization, a lean organization, but we use our network of, we're working with a large number of funds, dedicated funds, focused funds, to reach out to the MSMEs and to the innovation, people who require funding. Now, we started something in 1995, and we have come a long way since then. In fact, the first fund, risk capital fund, was set up in 2009 with the 2000 funding. And we have done a lot of companies, supported a lot of companies in startups, risk capital, mezzanine products. Even we have given equity products also. In fact, there's one Coral Telecom here. We did a funding long back about when there was no such fund. But we innovated and we did a funding of this company. Thanks. Now, this is what the statistics are. We have 79 VCFs, aggregate funding of 4,400, and 530 MSMEs. See, this is the first time when after SIDBI came, MSMEs are requiring this kind of funding. Even big venture capitalists shy away. But we make it mandatory when they come to us for funding, they have to give a certain portion, or at least twice of what our funds are to the MSMEs, which has been a big boost to the MSMEs. And as you all agree, a lot of innovations and requirement fund is in the MSME sector, where the productive plant and machinery may not be much. It's mostly IPR and some intangible sort of things. Now, some of the funds contributed are, these are some of the big funds we have contributed. And we had actually earlier in the initial stages, we have contributed to a number of state level funds. And a number of technologies came up, number of companies are doing well, they have grown. But the success there was limited because it was a highly risky proposition. Only 2 or 3 out of the number of funds companies invested did well. The next is the process. We have a 2-stage process, initial screening. We have a high-level team. In fact, Mr. Saurabh Srivastava was a part of the committee. And we have other people from the sector, from the technology field, who support us, evaluate project. Because see, as bankers, we have limited knowledge, technical knowledge. So we have to take support of the domain experts to give us support and guide us in this matter. Next. So this is the funds of funds. As I said, 50% of the corpus is invested by MSMEs. Whenever we give funds. So this is centrally managed in Bombay. We recently started, you must have heard about 2,000 crore India Aspiration Fund. And we also started what is called Make in India Fund, where we give soft loans to MSMEs. This is a part of that, and we have set up this 2,000 crore India Aspirations Fund. And we are also working with, for example, we are working with Aspire Fund from the Ministry of MSMEs. We are going to set up a fund with LIC. We are working with BE to set up an equity fund for the energy efficiencies funds. So all in all, SIDBI is now focused on setting up funds, dedicated funds. We will use our reach, our technical team to reach out to the MSMEs. In fact, we are also working with banks, wherein we can reach out to a large number of MSMEs in the country for innovative funding. So this is basically the SIDBI Venture Capital Fund. I would like to say this is, I think, the SIDBI Venture Capital Fund has basically is our arm, which has 3 funds made. Basically, it had 4 funds. 1 fund is closed. One is the Text Fund, the India Opportunities Fund, and Samruddhi Fund. The Samruddhi Fund is a socially oriented fund. The other 2 funds are focus funds, and the AUM is something like 1,600 crores. Thank you very much.